Hello everyone, it's that time of the week again, and in this issue of Shonen Jump we have Luffy dressed as a frog in the cover of Shonen Jump, and one of the frogs that's with him has a poster for the Stampede movie that's coming up. Sabo looks mad hipster with that sweater on. Judging from the poster, it seems like we're in for a very epic team-up fight scene, which is interesting because it gets you to think, what would cause characters like Buggy, Smoker, and Lucci to be on the same team, or at least to be attacking in the same direction at once. And though we don't know a whole lot about the movie's plotline, we do know for a fact that Douglas Bullet, who's the name antagonist of the film, used to be a Marine, and then he left, and then he joined the Roger Pirates, and then he left the Roger Pirates and got imprisoned in Impel Down. So if you consider the fact that this guy was at one point a member of the Marines, and then a member of the most infamous pirate crew ever, and then left both factions, it kind of gets you to think that both groups had a problem with him, or he had a problem with both of these groups. And so it would kind of serve to explain why all these characters from different backgrounds are teaming up against him, or at least appear to be doing so. It's like they have this enemy in common. Anyway, we start off in the capital, and shout out to the anime for that amazing Wano trailer. I'm a little bit skeptical though, because I do not know how much of that amazing animation we're actually going to get in the anime. The fact that those very well animated moments were just snippets got me to think one of two things: that they're either going to reserve that kind of animation for special moments, or maybe just a couple of episodes, or maybe special sequences that they want to emphasize, or that perhaps those snippets are part of the new opening that we're supposed to get when Wano starts. I hope I'm wrong though, and that the animation, that kind of animation holds up throughout. Zoro is clashing with Kyoshiro, and we have the Kyoshiro family members, the ones that were taken out by Frankie and Sanji, make a comment about how Zoro is able to go toe-to-toe with Kyoshiro, and so the guy is obviously strong. What's interesting here is that you see the clash, and you notice that Kyoshiro is actually towering over Zoro, so he's a pretty tall guy. And in this chapter, I learned something, I noticed something that I had not noticed before, which is that Ashura Doji, Shutenmaru, is also pretty tall himself. There's a panel where he's pretty much like at the same height as Inuarashi. And so their height reminded me of a comment that was made by either Luffy or Zoro, I can't remember, but one of them said, "Oh, Okiku, you're pretty tall. You're a tall girl." So Okiku is tall, Inuarashi is tall, Nekomamushi is tall, Shutenmaru / Ashura Doji is tall, and they're part of the 9 Red Scabbards. So it got me to think, is being tall a prerequisite? Is it a characteristic of the 9 Red Scabbards? And if that pattern is in fact the case, does that mean that Kyoshiro is actually Denjiro, and that perhaps he changed his hairstyle so that we as the readers don't know it's actually him until Oda decides to reveal that it's him? Because there's a moment where Zoro's clashing with him, and Zoro's panting, right? He's like, and he says, "Who is this guy? Who is this person?" And it's like, to me, the answer is obvious. It's Kyoshiro. But why would Zoro say something? Again, there's something more to Kyoshiro than meets the eye. And even Zoro, I think, noticed it. Anyway, the Oni Wabanshu show up, and its leader, Fukurokuju, says that they only need to capture one of the Straw Hats in order to make them talk and find out what their plan is. And so initially I was going to make a comment about how I was glad that Usopp's gag about running away was actually being put to good use, because he's actually running away to protect someone. But then when I took in the page again in its entirety, it was like, oh no. You have the page start out with Fukurokuju saying, "We only need to get one Straw Hat," and then by the end of the page, Usopp is running away with Otoko, which, by the way, I love the frog's expression on his head. I mean, the Usopp's frog in that scene is dead inside. There was a scene not too long ago where Usopp was talking to Nami, and I don't know if they were joking or not, but in that scene, Usopp said something like, "Man, if I were to get captured, I would spill the beans right away." And so with what Fukurokuju said in this panel, it does get you to think, was that scene foreshadowing to Usopp getting captured? I personally don't want that to happen, but if it does, I think it would be a good opportunity for Oda to give us a very solid Usopp character moment. Because if he's going to get pushed and tortured it makes for a great opportunity for Usopp to show what he's really made out of. Anyhow, Zoro gets attacked by Bensaiten, who, funnily enough, it turns out that her instrument doubles as a machine gun as well. Again, just like most members of the Oniwabanchu, Bensaiten is a reference to Japanese mythology. She is one of the 7 lucky gods, or one of the 7 gods of fortune, and she is the goddess of things that flow, such as water, time, and music, and she is sometimes referred to as the goddess of wonderful sounds. So she's the one who attacks Zoro. Anyway, Sanji's busy dealing with Drake, and we see him readying a kick, and surprisingly he gets swung into the ground by a swing of Drake's tail. Now, this is interesting for 2 reasons. Number 1, I find it kind of crazy that Sanji is capable of dodging a jelly bean attack, a jelly bean shot from Katakuri, even though he's being caught off guard, and yet in this instance he gets caught by Drake's tail. I mean, the only argument I would be able to make for Sanji getting hit by Drake this way was if he was trying to scale Drake to see if he needed the raid suit to fight him or not. Also in the same chapter, we have scenes of both Sanji and Queen being flung into the ground, so Sanji's final Wano arc matchup confirmed. The connection is undeniable at this point. And then the reason for why Drake makes a big deal out of Sanji being a Vinsmoke is because, and I've said this before, but Drake is from the same place that Sanji is from, which is the North Blue. Germa 66 was very famous back in the North Blue, so that's why he makes that comment. There's no mention of page 1 from Drake, which is interesting. I don't think Sanji versus Drake is going to be a full-fledged fight. I think it's just going to be a clash to sort of be able to escape. But despite that, though, I don't want the clash to be off-screen. Brook shows up with some Soul King action and manages to scare away some of the Oniwabanchu. Meanwhile, Hawkins confronts Law, who has arrived to free his crew. And this chapter actually shows us Hawkins using his Devil Fruit power in a way that we've never seen before and that I never thought that he could use. But it makes total sense, right? So instead of waiting for his opponents to attack him and transfer the damage, he's actually self-harming and transferring the damage anyway. Now, at first glance, this seems like a pretty broken ability, right? It's like, wow, like I never thought about it like that. And this is a way of trapping Law so that, he can't hurt Hawkins, because if he does, he hurts his crew. But here's the thing, Law has the ability, using shambles, he has the ability to switch people's spirits or souls into a different body. So in this case, one of the ways that I think Law could get the upper hand is if he switches Hawkins into Shachi's body. So if you trap Hawkins in someone else's body, Hawkins won't be able to transfer the damage over to whoever he wants. Now the problem with this, though, is that even if Law manages to pull off the switch, he still doesn't know where Beppo is, and so that can be used as leverage against him. Fujin and Raijin, Wind and Thunder, again, Japanese mythological references, are ordered to capture Komurasaki, but then Zoro takes care of them, and he runs away with her. And then we get an amazing Sanji face when he finds out that that maiden that he was trying to rescue. And by the way, like, look at how he was so quick. He stopped fighting Drake immediately. He even activates a little radar scope thing to scan the area for her. And then Zoro runs away with Hiyori. He sees this, and it breaks his heart. And I love the fact that he's trying to rationalize it, and he says, but he has a lower bounty than me. The face was just so funny. Sanji, throughout the series, has a collection of very, very funny looking facial expressions and gestures, but my favorite one by far, this is yet to be topped, is the expression that he makes when he sees his first picture for the bounty poster, where it looks nothing like him. It's Duval's face, and then Zoro says, well, you actually kind of do look like that, and Sanji is so upset that if you read the subs, he starts speaking in symbols, and Zoro's like, I can't understand what you're saying. We go to Kuri, and it seems like the whole burning of Mount Atama, or the bandits' home/hideout, was addressed off-screen, because Kinnemon is already apologizing. And then Shutenmaru says, come with me, I have something to show you, which has to be related to Odin in some way, shape, or form, or it has to be related to something that happened in Wano within the 20-year time span that Kinnemon was absent, so that maybe Kinnemon like understands where Shutenmaru is coming from and understands his hesitation to join the fight against Kaido. Big Mom has finally arrived in Udon, and she's destroyed 3 gates, apparently. And what I think is cool about this, though, is that if you look at her face, like her eyes are not insane. I mean, she still kind of looks crazy, but they're not the way they looked back in Whole Cake Island when she was yelling, "Wedding cake!" Like, she seems like she still has a handle on things, at least to some extent. So she's not completely gone mentally. And we get the classic One Piece face reaction for both Queen and Luffy. Okiku tells Tama and Momonosuke that they can't go in with her and Chopper. And so I feel like that's just an invitation for the kids to get captured. You know, whenever you leave little kids by themselves, you're just asking for trouble. And I think it's Old Maid who actually warns Queen about, or not warns, but actually like sort of reminds Queen that if Big Mom doesn't get the food that she wants, it's going to be a problem. And so when I first read that, I was like, wait, how would Old Maid know that to begin with? Like, is this public news? Because I don't think it is. Like, why would people know that outside of Whole Cake Island, right? So I think this is, once again, hinting at Kaido and Big Mom having a history together, and at least some of the members of Kaido's crew knowing about Big Mom a little bit with more depth than normal people do, because of the connection that Big Mom and Kaido had in the past. Because didn't we at one point also get like a small little panel of Pero knowing exactly who King was, even though King was transformed? Luffy makes a request to stop Kid and Killer from drowning, and nobody listens to it. And then Queen shows us what his true devil fruit power is. I like how his neck gradually begins to stretch out until finally it's like, welcome to Jurassic Park. Oh no, she broke the dinosaur! I was actually kind of surprised to find out that Queen had the Brachiosaurus devil fruit model. Although thematically it does make sense because it matches Jack's mammoth fruit and King's pteranodon. So they have the prehistoric nature in common, but there was still a lot of theories and speculation about Queen having a scorpion devil fruit power because of the figureheads that we saw back in Zou when Jack arrived and he was being supported by a fleet of ships that had those scorpions on them. So my question is this: if those ships were not under Queen's command, if those were not Queen's ships, then who did they belong to? Because we do know that there's a smile user who has the scorpion smile, right? I believe his name is Daifugu or something like that. So maybe those ships belong to him. I personally find it hard to believe that fleet of ships belong to him. But as of right now, it seems like the only logical explanation, unless there's somebody that has an actual Zoan Scorpion devil fruit in Wano that we don't know of yet. So maybe Oda didn't like the fact that people guessed right, and that people were talking about Queen being a scorpion, so he changed it to a Brachiosaurus, just to surprise us. Because he's been quoted before saying that if people figure out aspects of the story, he'll try and change it, because he wants to surprise the audience and he doesn't like telling a predictable story. So maybe that's what happened here in Queen's case. I find it funny that Napoleon is still unconscious on Big Mom's head. Kind of want to know how much damage Big Mom did to Queen with that attack. Because if you look at her arm, it doesn't have hockey. It's not coated in hockey. So unless Big Mom is using the concept of flow, I don't see Queen getting taken out from this. If he is, that would be pretty disappointing. Because this attack from Big Mom seems kind of casual, way less intense than Kaido's thunderclap, let's say. I don't think Queen is down for the count. I think he's going to get back up. Maybe not as quickly as Sanji did in the beginning of the chapter, but he'll get back up. Plus, we still need to find out why Queen is called Queen the Plague. So that's information that we need to get before he gets defeated. I like how Queen still has his cigar while he's transformed. Yet another connection with Sanji. They both smoke, and they keep smoking no matter what happens. That's the review. Thanks a bunch for watching. I thought the chapter was a good one. A lot of action in this one. There's a break next week, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately, not just because we're not getting a chapter, but also because I thought that next week we would have a chapter, and then the following week we wouldn't. And so I actually scheduled a flight that day when the chapter is going to come out in 2 weeks. So that's going to suck for me, because that means that I'm going to have to record the review and then rush to the airport like that scene in Home Alone. Thank you for watching. Comment down below with your thoughts. Like the video if you did. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. Take care. Bye.